Look, interesting figure, as I said, the participation rate for probably the unexpected one, Kieran, meaning 6.2 might look better than we would have thought, but nearly 600,000 jobs gone from the economy in that month alone.
And 500,000 left the labour force. As you point very accurately there, Tom, the key number here is the participation rate, and the climb of 5% to 13.7%, the number of people who would like to work more hours than they're currently doing. That climb and the reduction in the participation rate in the economy is the explanation for why we're seeing what is otherwise a smaller number than many had anticipated in terms of the unemployment rate at 6.2%, which is a rise of 1%. But things are much, much worse than that. As you rightly point out, 600,000 less jobs in the month of April, and there are now 6 million. They clicked over 6 million yesterday, I believe, workers covered by JobKeeper. So basically receiving government payments but not working. This is a jobs crisis, and this is simply, the number might look better in terms of the overall unemployment rate, 6.2% than many people had expected, but 600,000 jobs is bang on expectations for how many jobs were lost in that period of, the estimates were 500 to 750,000, and that's right in the middle of that range, Tom.
Andrew, the interesting thing about this, as I said, was the participation rate. I mean, a significant number of people seemingly giving up on looking for a job. Now, maybe they give up for a month or two while the economy is said to be in hibernation and they're hearing political leaders talk about things and nobody's hiring. So maybe they come back and attempt to look for a job down the track. What's your theory on this?
I think JobKeeper's got a big role to play in this, Tom. And as you say, there are people obviously who've taken that hibernation message that Scott Morrison had around the time these figures occurred seriously and literally. And that's helped keep this figure less bad than I, for one, anticipated. But if we're talking about, as Kieran mentioned, 6 million people, which we understand now to be on JobKeeper, they've met the target, and they've met the target with it operating, it only started a couple of weeks ago, and you could only apply from a month and a half ago, and it's to go for 6 months. You'd have to say they'll exceed that target of 6 million on JobKeeper the way things are going. Restrictions being lifted, of course, can affect that, but you'd have to say that more than 6 million will end up on JobKeeper. And that can even be an important psychological thing, I guess, because in the public's mind, a 6.2% unemployment figure sounds a hell of a lot better for the public and for the government than, say, 10%, which I'm pretty convinced we would have had. Remember, too, though, these figures are for April 1 to 15, and we've seen a lot of jobs go since then. The pubs, etc., only shut about March 23. So a lot of people laid off since then, and I think we might see a more realistic figure in May, and people in government fear, particularly in around September, October, when JobKeeper runs out. No one has an answer in this building at the moment about what they're going to do when that occurs, and it'll be interesting. I expect Scott Morrison to be asked that now.
You'd absolutely expect that. Look, the other figures, just to bring to your attention, underutilisation up to 19.9%, up 6%. Now, that combines underemployment and unemployment as well. You can see the unemployment rate, 6.2%. Full-time jobs, 220,000 lost, 373,000 part-time. And you'd imagine a lot of them in hospitality. Participation rate. And remember, some of those hospitality jobs, if they don't have a connection for 12 months, any job is not covered under JobKeeper, and if you're on JobSeeker, you will be considered unemployed. A participation rate, that big fall, an interesting one. As you were mentioning, I thought it was quite interesting, Andrew Clennell, that you do have, if you've been stood down without hours but not actually made unemployed, you're considered employed for a month, and then beyond that, you're considered unemployed. So that figure could again spike next month. But Kieran, what happens? 600,000 jobs gone. What a huge figure. 6 million on JobKeeper. Now, of course, lots of them might well be able to find their way back to employment over that 6-month period. But there has to be this hanging question over the government. Maybe it's a sector-by-sector approach, and, the arts and hospitality are two easy ones you could think of that might get more assistance.
And just because a person is on JobSeeker doesn't mean they're defined as unemployed. You can get JobSeeker via a low income test. So this goes to that point of what we mentioned earlier in terms of underemployment, that figure that's climbed quite dramatically in this survey. Those that would like to work more hours, up nearly 14% of workers would like to work more hours. So not everyone on JobSeeker is defined as unemployed under that metric. As I said, you can get it on a low income test. And I think this goes to one of the points. Even if we don't get to the huge numbers that we had feared, upwards of 10% unemployment, there is still a massive underemployment issue in this economy, and one that I think the government is well aware of. Even if you can keep the official number below 10%, there are still many people who are struggling on much less hours than they would otherwise need to feed their families. So in the face of those numbers as well today, Tom, 600,000 jobs lost. That, along with the participation rate falling as dramatically, is the core of this survey in my view. And as Andrew said, the back half of April into May, there were many more jobs lost. So I wouldn't expect this trend, this increase to turn around for the foreseeable future.